and welcome to Sitecore Standard Values Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Bauer, Senior Value Consultant here at Sitecore. In this podcast, we continually seek to provide deeper insights into the value of Sitecore as a solution to business problems. With regular episodes from me in the US and from my counterpart, Sultan, in the Netherlands, we will alternate to bring you a variety of guests to share their global perspectives and experiences through a rich tapestry of discussion, opinion, and thought experiments. My guest today is a longtime friend and fellow MVP, Mr. Dennis Augustine. Dennis is a Toronto-based software entrepreneur, 6-time Sitecore MVP with 23 total years in software, and one of my favorite Canucks. Welcome, Dennis, to Standard Values.
Yes. Canuck. It's not. It doesn't mean I'm kooky or anything. It's a slang for Canadian.
That's it.
We are proud. I'm a proud Canadian, of course. Thank you so much for having me, Rick.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
As always, I've enjoyed your perspectives and passion and breadth of understanding around digital marketing and business problems. You have this really wonderful way of diving deep into technology while also being empathetic and relatable and just, a good-hearted guy. No doubt you are the perfect guest to me for our first ever Standard Value podcast. So with that, let's set the table a little bit. Tell me, how and when did you get started in the Sitecore space?
Oh, first of all, I'm dark and freshly tanned, but I'm blushing underneath. That's really cool. So thank you so much. Well, I got started in Sitecore about 14 years ago. I was a very overconfident BA and developer, .NET developer. I was working at a Sitecore customer company, and we got a quote for a badly needed 4 to 6 upgrade, and from a vendor. And the vendor, I thought, well, that looks a little high. It's .NET. How hard could it be? I'll do it. I'll learn. I'll get certified and do it myself. And you chuckle because, those are, and every technologist out there especially knows those are famous last words, especially back then. Yep. And I got myself in well over my head. And it's only thanks to the help of guys like Mr. West and their articles online, and my current partners Cam and Akshay, and the stuff that these people were putting out there. The community bailed me out. And that's how I got roped in, because it was very different than anything else I had done in my career up until then. The community was really very strong, and it made me kind of dig it. So that's how I got in.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the community is absolutely wonderful. And that's, again, like that's that tech side and the strategy side that you bring to bear that is always, reflected in the way you approach Sitecore. You mentioned, I know you're a partner with Akshay and the whole crew at Konabos right now. Why don't you tell me a little bit about why you made that shift and how you approach solving your customers' business problems?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I was working my way through just the traditional, IT career, and some development and solution architecture and BA and some management level stuff as well. Worked with a large law firm, one of the largest ones here in Canada, as applications manager. But I wanted to continue to just evolve, and it was just evolution was the whole thing for me. And wanted to better leverage the skills I had attained over, my couple decades of solutioning, and to keep learning new stuff, and to get new challenges, and to and it's difficult when you're I was in a large corporate law firm, and if you want to get a slow moving ship at the time, I mean, those are the cruise liners of slow moving.
Sure.
So it's hard. So you didn't get as much change as we would like, the pace of change. And if you're a passionate technologist, you really want change, because it's where you really learn. And I think, it's true when we talk about evolution in general, right?
Yeah.
It's those stresses and the change in the environment that speeds up evolution. And that same thing holds true for us as professionals. And so the way I could get that was going to an agency space. Because we're gonna, as in an agency environment, you're exposed to organizations just when they recognize they must do something. So it's a little bit, rather than sitting there at an organization advocating, hey, we should do this, we should do this.
Hmm.
Where I'm getting somebody somebody who works at the agency when they're saying, hey, we need to do this. So I'm getting those change moments and getting exposed to a lot of them frequently, and that just accelerates our learning. So I think that's one of the things I loved about that, and that's why I made the shift
Sure.
to Konabos as well, because the partner thing, I mentioned the importance of community.
Yeah.
Community, when I got into the Sitecore space, and Cam and Akshay, my partners, you know, they walked the talk when it came to community. And when I was just looking to do something new, they were just a natural fit for me. And so, yeah, evolution and community were the two things that drove me in this direction, and particularly at Konabos. And matter of fact, we keep evolving onto the end of our values as well. So
Right.
yeah, evolution, man. That's what
Well,
it's
let's
all
go with
about.
that. Let's talk about that evolution, because as we've said a couple times already, you kind of come from that dev side. I know you
Hmm.
were a strategy MVP. You're now
Yeah.
an ambassador MVP, and if
Yes,
I'm not mistaken, CX Architect, correct?
that's right.
Um, so how did you land there? And just please help our listeners understand the importance of this role.
Yeah, CX Architect. So I used to be solution architect. I used to call myself all the time because I was doing mostly solutioning, and was dealing a lot with the technical aspects of things. But
Hmm.
uh, after 13 years in the Sitecore space, actually it was probably around 12 years at that time in the Sitecore space, I'd come across a lot of customers who hadn't even personalized,
Right.
like the basic things that they had bought Sitecore for, right?
Very common
Um,
story. Yep.
just it, right? And um, it's like, it's not that they bought the wrong tool. It was a little bit like getting Microsoft Excel and figuring
Hmm.
it was going to balance your checkbook, like it was
Sure.
going to do it for you, right?
Right.
It was everything except the tool that was the problem. And the problem was really that we're building these incredibly complex things, sometimes costing millions of dollars, taking a year or more in some cases. And we're doing it without really having a very thoughtful look at the architecture behind the whole thing.
Hmm.
It's as if I was building a skyscraper and I called the interior designer and the plumber first, right? Without
Hmm.
actually calling the architect who's going to talk to me about how I want to live in this thing, and who understands how all of the trades need to put the pieces together in order to make it work as an edifice, right?
Sure.
So that was the problem that I saw, and so I changed the title from as solution architect to customer experience architect. Before it was, I think, cool. It's a cool thing right now. It's a whole association about that. But I think it's a sorely needed space. Solution because customer experience architects will help an organization to uh, put all of the different pieces together, connect that to your strategy, and then make that translation between the technological pieces and how they fit together to action that, right? That's our
Right.
job as kind of customer experience architects and strategists, to really bridge that gap and to see the bigger picture of how the strategy, the data, and the technology, the people, the processes all fit together. And that's a
Sure.
little bit too much for any one professional. I mean, your CMO or CTO shouldn't have to do that, because they're better served if they're frankly exposed to a lot more of it, like I am on a day-to-day basis. So they get a lot more value out of working with partners in this kind of capacity, I think.
So let's talk about some of those pieces, because your universe of pieces
Yes.
has expanded, at least from a Sitecore lens.
Ooh.
So
Oh,
Gartner has reported that 60% of organizations will seek composability in new application developments.
right.
And as you know, we've evolved significantly over the last few years, moving towards a fully composable solution. What do you think your customers need to know about composability as they continually evaluate their organization's tech stack?
Oh, that's good. So this is a great question. So, because
I like to have one or two, you know.
yeah, well, you hit it out of the park with that one. Um, what? Back when in 2019, when Gartner started talking about composability, they also started talking about composable business and packaged business capabilities.
Hmm.
And those things are business imperatives, not technological ones. I think
Right.
that's the first thing I want customers to understand, that it is um, the organization of the platform capabilities around the business capabilities that the capabilities, your package of business capabilities your organization needs to have to be successful, right? So
Very true.
um, we got to the state of the DXP because we kept stacking stuff on top of the web channel. At some point, we realized that content was a core package business capability that we needed to have right across everything that we did, whether it was the website or in the application or the lunch and learn that I was doing for my department next week, right? That's a cross-cutting concern that had
Hmm.
nothing to do with the web channel. And so now we have a packaged business capability, which is something that the content platform works with your content people to solve. We have other things like analytics that you're going to have a cross-cutting concern. What is the view of my customer across the ERP from the web channel and all of those things? And so now that we're thinking about those business capabilities in that way, we need to have technological pieces that fit the way our businesses should run in order to be as agile and efficient as possible. So I think that's the thing where we fail, is to connect the agility in the systems with the agility in the business structure. And to me, what that does is it raises that conversation out of off of the geek's blackboard, whiteboard, and into the C-suite. Because if I'm talking about the way your business is structured and those cross-cutting concerns, that's a sweet C-suite conversation where you need to have your CX architect involved in
Yeah.
advising you and helping you understand how that all fits together, because everything we do in business today is digital.
And it's funny. I didn't hear you, maybe unless I missed it. I didn't hear you say digital marketing once in that sentence, and I think that's so very true. That this is, like, it's not just about solving marketing problems anymore.
No.
Let alone digital marketing problems. That even that phrase is tired because isn't everything digital? So it's just, we're not even
Yes.
worried about
It's a
marketing
little
problems so
redundant.
much, right? We're looking at full on business. Like, what affects your business? What solutions do you need for that? So fully agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that then, I mean, this is why it's such an exciting time to be in this space, because finally, I think we've unleashed a lot of the things that we've been working on, a lot of these modules on bigger business problems.
Yes.
Content. Where's content? Right? Content everywhere. So the content
Right.
crisis is everywhere. It's not a marketing problem. It's not a marketing department's problem. I'll be talking about that a little bit later on when I talk a little bit more about Sitecore Content Hub and some of the stuff I'll be doing later this year. But
Sure.
you can use Content Hub. Content Hub solves problems right across your business. So it's not just about the marketing department either. So yeah, this is what I wish customers knew about composability and why it's such an important and exciting time for them to pay attention to this space.
Agreed. Yeah, and you probably are well aware we have our pillars of content, experience, and commerce, and
Yeah.
that content piece honestly reaches across everything. You're still going to need images, you're still going to need text. You need all sorts of product information, metadata, et cetera. So that's very true. Are you hearing any recurring questions or themes, maybe would be a better way to say that, from customers or the community around composable architecture? Is there any, you know, urgent or burning questions that you've been hearing repeatedly?
Well, I think I think a lot of folks have a sense that they should care about composability and they should do something about it because somehow it's important, but they're not really quite sure about how important it is in order to make them start to move, to overcome that inertia, right?
Right.
So give me the reason that's compelling enough for me to start the move towards a composable future rather than just upgrading my current instance. And I think we need to do a better job of providing them with those reasons. And that's why I think the role that your team does is so
Very true.
important, Rick. Because yeah, first of all, especially when we're talking about enterprise customers, you are steering a cruise ship. You know that you have to start to make the move to composability. You don't have to do it all at once. Start today and start to understand that, but also understand that it is something really core that goes to the core of how you will do business tomorrow to be successful. And I'm not saying it's not Dennis Augustine saying that. I mean, you heard Gartner say that in 2019. So I'm in good
Absolutely.
company
Yep.
when I preach that message. But I think yeah, that's what I really wish they would all really know. Yeah.
I think you set up that perfectly. And you also have helped me set up the very first podcast ever, because that's the kind of stuff we're going to be answering a little more in future episodes. So I couldn't ask you
Stay
to set
tuned,
that
folks.
better,
Come
sir.
right back here. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a fun question for you. And this is going to fall under stereotypical Canada, but what are the correct ingredients in poutine, and where do you find the best poutine?
The correct ingredients in poutine are fries, gravy, and cheese curds, and you will find it in La Belle Provence, most definitely in Quebec. I'll give them a shout out for that. That's where you're
All
going
right,
to find the real stuff. The real stuff.
good.
Rick,
I
but
need.
Rick, I want to share. Can I share one thing with you
Oh,
before I
I want
go?
to have you share several things, but yeah,
I
absolutely.
want
Go
to
ahead.
share one. I want to share a shout out to the Sitecore community. I just came back from a week's vacation in Jamaica. Right,
Wonderful.
and I'm sitting on a beach, Rick, and I came back. I played some basketball this weekend. The guys asked me, "What's the best part of your vacation?" And I was thinking, well, okay, was it the view? Because the view was pretty awesome, and the food was okay. And then I realized I had a moment sitting there where I was sitting next to this beautiful woman I've been with for 9 years, and I realized I have this job and community and all of these things that support me to be able to live exactly the life that I have always wanted and to be exactly the person I have always wanted to be. And a lot of that started 14 years ago when I joined the Sitecore community. So I just want to give a shout out to everybody listening to this for the part that you played in it, and I wish you that you have a moment like that as well.
Very nice. Very nice. I do. It's been a while since I've been to. Usually I do like the Negril, but I love Jamaica, so it's been a bit. But
Yeah,
um, that sounds wonderful. Now I'm a little jealous.
yeah,
So before we close, I have one regular question I'd like you to answer, and then after that, the floor is yours. If you have any ongoing events or engagements that you'd like to promote, I definitely, from a community standpoint, and Sitecore is definitely proud to have our community. Please
right
share
on.
that. With that, my last question: what, Dennis Augustine, is your standard value?
Oh, yes. What is my standard value? Uh, I think. Well, we have a value statement that I spent a lot of time thinking about and working on with the team that I think I just want to kind of adopt as my banner as well, which is to be kind, to be fair, to keep exploring, and that goes back to the evolution thing, but to all do all of those things from the inside out. So
Hmm,
take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, be fair to yourself, and the people closest to you, then to your team members and customers and to the world as best as you can. But that's how I try to live, and I'm proud to say that's what we're building. So yeah,
that's a
that's
wonderful sentiment. That's awesome.
those are my values. And now that I get to pitch something, well, in the spirit of community, I'm going to pitch something that's helpful, I think, to everybody. I'm going to invite you all to the North America Sitecore Strategy Lunch. We're going to be trying to do that on the third Thursday of the month, but this month it will be a little bit later on the 29th. But nevertheless, this might air a little bit later on. You check out the meetup site for the North America Sitecore Strategy Lunch, and please join us when you can. And we'll be starting as well. Konabos will be sponsoring a DX Cafe Toastmasters Club, and
Hmm,
Toastmasters is the world's leading organization for public speaking
yeah.
and leadership skills. They give certificates that will help you in your career, and you'll be able to practice your presentations for the Sitecore community and other things in an environment that's really focused on digital. Get feedback from professionals in your space. So it's a big 2-for-1 in terms of building your network in our space and improving your professional skills and getting ready for the next subcon or symposium or whatever it might be. So look out for that. We'll be putting some stuff out on LinkedIn about joining that. So that's the DX Cafe Toastmasters Club coming to a screen near you.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, thank you, Dennis. And thank you, listeners, for joining our first episode of Sitecore's Standard Values podcast. Yes. I, of course, would be remiss if I did not ask you to subscribe, like, and share this series, available on YouTube or wherever you enjoy fine podcasts like these. Thank you, Dennis. I'm Rick Bauer.